Good morning, guys. Welcome back to 4K Motoring.
I'm Chris, and today we're doing the Iron Butt.
It is now about 4:45. We're getting ready to get on the road for our 1,000 miles in less than 24 hours. We are leaving Austin, Texas, going to a gas station, going to get our first receipt, I guess, to get the timestamp to get it started. Get on the road, hopefully 170 mile, 180 mile intervals, and we'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee by tonight. Hopefully. Well, this is going to be fuel stop number 1. We've made it to Dallas. We are now just getting into traffic. I was hoping we'd miss it. It's a Monday morning and it's happening. So we're going to be stuck in that, hopefully for not too terribly long. We're on our way out to Texarkana next. I think we're going to be stopping just prior to that for fuel. We made it about 180 miles in this tank, averaging about 41 miles per gallon on the motorcycle. We are on a tailwind most of the way. Doing a quick stop here, making it less than 15 minutes, getting back on the road, and then we're going to go ahead and hopefully get to the next one. Well, guys, we made it to almost Texarkana. Just a little bit before that, folks. Texas, I think, is where we are. Stopped for fuel. We had, I think we had about 1,600 miles on the bikes from when we left Raleigh to right before we started the Iron Butt. So they've been pretty good overall. No real complaints. Kind of got the whole fuel mileage thing figured out. So we're doing pretty well this time. The fuel light comes on right before we stop, so I think we're in good shape. Should be fine. We're about a third of the way done. About 360 miles. 360, yeah, something like that now. So in good shape for the remaining 700-ish. Right about a little bit less than 700. So get a little snack. Doing a 15-minute fuel stop. Lunch will probably be the next stop, and we'll go from there. This is our first gas station where the receipt didn't work, so we had to go inside to the clerk, which is why it's good that you pick a place that's open 24 hours and open all the time, or at least make sure the gas stations you're going to will be open when you get there. That way you don't miss out on, messing everything up. As far as the ride, 300, almost 400 miles in, feeling decent. A little stiff on the bike just from sitting in one spot over kind of the whole week now, so it wasn't really well rested and refreshed before this to begin with. But overall, feel pretty good. I think 1,000 miles will definitely be doable. We are making good time. Hopefully, we can keep that up, knock on wood, and get up to Knoxville. Would be basically 10 o'clock, but with the hour shift, it'll be 11 o'clock there. Hopefully, we can, save 30 minutes or so on the route. That'd be really nice. Well, that's another leg down. We are now just outside of Little Rock, and we are getting gas. Been about 180 miles since our last one, and the SaddleSore, part of the SaddleSore 1000, is definitely kicking in. We're gonna go ahead and get gas, top off, get a little bite to eat. Found a gas station that has a Subway built into it here, so hopefully that lets us get a little bit of food pretty quick. I've allotted a little bit of time for us to get food, so hopefully 30 minutes so we can get it done. Bike has been handling well today, but SaddleSore is real. Well, we've made it to our next stop. We're just past Memphis, Tennessee. We are in Tennessee now. We have to hit Nashville, which will be our next stop and our last gas stop, and then we'll be in Knoxville, where we're going to stop for gas, 1 to fill up, and 2 to get our final receipt for our full Iron Butt for the 1,000-mile journey. So far, it's been pretty windy, and that's been really the worst part. The wind's been pushing us around quite a bit. We've been riding sideways a lot of the trip. It's rained on and off throughout the trip. Nothing too heavy yet, a lot of spotty stuff, as you can see. Hard to even see through the windshield. got over 2/3 of the trip done so far, a little over 700, almost 750 miles, somewhere about there. So should be not quite 400 miles left. Getting a little saddle sore, getting a little tired. It's been a long day. We're up around 4. It's now, what is it? It's now about 5 o'clock. So it's been a long day. Still got more to go. Gonna get back on the road here in just a couple minutes. Hopefully get back on schedule and get this day over with. Well guys, we made it to where are we? Nashville. We're in Nashville. There's no country music here. There's no music. Well, there was music from that car there. Nothing going on. It is soaking. We're soaking. It started pouring down raining. It said it's not raining for the weather channel. It's definitely raining. This is the last leg of the trip. About 2.5 hours left. It's dark. It's wet. It's cold. Don't do this. What's up guys? We're finally done. We just did 1,036 miles, fully documented, in 17 hours of drive time. Started at 4 a.m. Central Time, ended 11 p.m., 11:10 p.m. in Eastern Time. Was a blast, was a long day. Last 2 hours were in torrential downpours, in the dark, very difficult to see the semi-truck spray. I mean, it was nothing easiest way to end the trip, but we're finally done. Apologize for not getting a lot of on-the-bike coverage. I don't really like having a GoPro attached to my helmet. The batteries were dying, it was kind of an ordeal, so tried to give you updates every time we stopped. Ended up doing one meal break, a couple of 20-minute just general breaks. There was 4 of us on the trip. We had the 2010 FJR 1500, my 2022 Ducati Multistrada V4s, and a 2015 KTM 1190. Overall, the Iron Butt was successful. It was not easy, and the saddle sore is real. I understand why they get the name of the ride in the title. If you've not done an endurance ride like that before, it truly is an endurance ride. And possibly the about 2,000 miles we did in the couple days leading up to it weren't the best idea. Maybe starting fresh would have been, but either way, was definitely doable within 24 hours. That part was really not an issue at all. That said, we did stay to the interstates pretty much the whole time just to make distance. So if you did back roads or something with slower speed limits, you might be cutting closer to that time limit. The remaining portion of the Iron Butt ride, the last 200 miles or so that we did after we got into about Nashville, Tennessee, it was dark at that point. As it was getting into summer, it stayed lighter a little bit later. But as about the time we got into Nashville, it was completely dark and it started pouring down raining. Like flood alert, red on the radar coming across, raining. And we were stuck in that. I had my Gore-Tex gear on. The Rev'It Poseidon actually worked really well the whole time. I would highly recommend that gear if you're in the market. Great way to get some laminated Gore-Tex stuff for not the most expensive price out there. But some of the other guys on the trip had just frog togs and liners, that sort of thing that they had to put in. So after already getting wet, we stopped at a gas station. They tried to throw their stuff on and got back out on the road. Very hard to see at night in the rain, especially with the lights. The way all the lights kind of reflect in the mirrors, over the windscreen and your face visor, that sort of thing. It gets very difficult to see and maybe not the safest conditions, especially going through the mountains. So that was a little sketchy, but overall we made it. It only rained for about an hour. We did finish out the last hour or so when it was dry, so we got to dry off a little bit. And overall, would I do it again? Honestly, I'm not sure. It was a lot of riding for one day. There's a lot of things I would have loved to have stopped and seen along the way. That would have been super cool. A lot of other roads that would have been a lot more fun to take. But for just covering distance and getting somewhere, now we know that's definitely a very possible distance. I'm sure coming up in the future we'll have some more rides. I don't think we'll be pushing quite that distance anymore. Maybe up to 800 miles or so a day I think would be enjoyable. But I guess that remains to be seen what all everybody else in the group wants to do. If any of you guys watching have ever done one of the Iron Butt rides, let me know in the comments below and let me know how it went for you. For us, it was pretty good up until about that 800-mile mark, and then, man, if we had not already booked that hotel, it probably would have been a struggle to convince ourselves to keep going. We're still finishing up the documentation and getting that sent off. I'll make a video once all that's completed to let you know exactly how we did that and what all is required to hopefully make it a little bit easier for you guys. No doubt the route planning ahead of time helped immensely. Knowing our destinations, knowing our distances, fuel windows, that sort of thing was almost absolutely necessary to make this trip happen. It made it so much easier, and I would highly recommend that if you guys are ever considering planning one. With the exception of the loss of navigation and connectivity with my phone for the screen mirroring navigation about halfway through the trip, this bike was awesome for the ride. The radar cruise control and blind spot monitoring are awesome features that make it so easy to ride this bike. With the quick shifter that doesn't cancel your cruise control, you really can kind of sit back and enjoy the ride a little bit more. You know the bike will start catching things and maintain on its own, and really it does pretty well. I've noticed, depending on the vehicle position in front of you, it is very sensitive to make sure a vehicle is directly in front of the radar. That way it doesn't get confused by opposite lanes of travel. But when you're staggered in a group and you're riding to the side of your lane, sometimes it'll not see the car in front of you or jump back and forth, and that requires a little bit of getting used to know exactly how to use this system. As always, I certainly appreciate you guys watching 4K Motoring. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like the video. It really helps us out. If you've done these Iron Butt rides before or done any sort of long distance rides, let me know in the comments below how it worked for you and what issues you had. I'd love to hear from everybody to see how theirs were, see what kind of routes you take, that sort of thing, and how it worked for you. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll be back soon with more content, both for the Ducati and the Corvette. As you can see, 20-year-old cars always have something wrong. So stay tuned to 4K Motoring. We're going to have some more content soon. We'll be back.